All right. Happy Monday, everyone. Nick Marro here with DFS Jayhawk, and we are here as always to help you break down tonight's NBA DFS main slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. We are back to DK cutting off the late games, so the DK slate is only 7 games, whereas the FanDuel is 9. We will touch on those late games, so those on FanDuel, like myself, don't worry. But we got a lot to talk about, man. So Jayhawk, what's kind of your overall take on this slate? I mean, tons of injury news we already have. A lot we're still waiting on as well.
Yeah, man, I think this is a really good Monday slate here. I played really light yesterday. I didn't love the slate, but I think this slate we got a ton of ways to go. Definitely a good 150 type building lineups type of day. So yeah, excited to break this up.
Yeah, man, we got options, and I mean, typically, I don't know. I'll probably go game by game here. I don't want to spend time on the games where there's not a lot of injury news to kind of parse through. But yeah, Dallas is a big part here, obviously. It sounds like Kyrie has an illness, but he's going to play. He went through shoot around. I think that's a pretty big piece of news. Portland's banged up. We saw Grant Williams go down with the ACL yesterday. But let's get right into it here. We'll start at the 7 p.m. games. And those who are already in, I appreciate it, guys. I'll definitely get to chat in just a second. As always, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep getting these free videos out to you on a regular basis. But let's get into it. Time is of the essence here. So for the Pelicans today, a lot to talk about. So no Alvarado still. Brandon Ingram is questionable. Herbert Jones is out. CJ McCollum's back. He's listed as probable. Eves Missy as well listed as probable. Still no Murray or Zion. So pretty good spot here for them against the Pacers, right? But I don't know. So many moving parts. I don't know that I have a real great grasp on what we should be doing. So it looks like Murphy is going to be very popular. I think that probably holds, but only if Ingram is indeed out. If Ingram's in, I have trouble wanting to get to this 24% on FanDuel, even 10% on DK at his price. Feels a little bit crazy. McCollum, we haven't heard much on his minutes today, I don't think. We have him for 30. At his price, he's kind of borderline GPP viable. I wouldn't mind him if Ingram's back. But not to spend too much time on them, but I guess what's your take on the Pelicans here? More moving parts here in both directions in terms of guys being ruled in and out. Luckily, this is the first game on the slate, though.
Yeah, so just one quick note here. I believe Brandon Ingram did get ruled out about 15 minutes ago, so he should be out. So I really like that Trey Murphy call. I think
Yeah.
he looks awesome. Shout out to Chuck. I know he will be playing Trey Murphy tonight. He's a big Trey Murphy guy. So yeah, love Trey Murphy here in tournaments. On both sides here. So I think he's probably the primary play. And then you mentioned that I think CJ's still fine. I'm just a little bit worried about his potential minute ceiling
Right.
here. So probably just Murphy for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, if you are playing 150, I think you're fine to maybe mix in some McCollum. We're going to talk about some really popular value centers tonight. Missy isn't one of them, but if you, again, you're playing 150 lineups looking for ways to pivot, I don't think it's crazy. On the other side of this one, another spot where we're talking about some pending news. Miles Turner, first and foremost, is listed as questionable. Obviously, if he's out, things are going to get interesting because Wiseman and Isaiah Jackson are both already ruled out. So we're going to have to talk about what we're going to do with that front court. Johnny Furphy, who has been in the rotation, is out. No Nemhard, no Naismith. Shepard out again as well. So yeah, man, this game, I'm glad it's the first on the slate, so we'll have all this news. But taking a look at Indy here, if Turner's in, I think he's fine where he's priced. If he's out, I actually think maybe Siakam's the pivot more than anyone else. They do have Moses Brown, former Clipper, on the roster now, who could maybe play some center. We've seen Obi Toppin kind of spike some stealing off the bench at times, but it's just tough to really read the mind of any NBA coach, especially one Rick Carlisle. Fine getting to Halliburton, even though he hasn't been shooting the ball well. I will say, I think at the current ownerships, Siakam's probably my favorite. I don't remember if it was Power. I think it was in chat last time I was on. Shout out to him for calling out the Quentin Jackson play. Not something I think Chuck or I were really bullish on, but I think he's had a few good games now as well. But yeah, man, how are you handling Indy? And do you have a lean on whether you think Turner is in or not tonight?
Yeah, so typically I feel like I have a lean here. I think this is probably, at least in my opinion, going to be a 50-50 game time decision call. You mentioned it. If he sits here, I think there's a couple guys. You mentioned Siakam. I think he would look a lot better here in this matchup. And then Moses Brown, man, I think he'd be very intriguing at sub 3K on DraftKings, 3.7K on FanDuel. He looked awesome in his stint when he came in last game. So would definitely want to play Brown if Turner sat. And then I don't hate the Jackson Cole. I think this is probably a better matchup compared to his last game. So yeah, totally fine with all these guys. Definitely bumps to those guys I mentioned though if Turner sits here.
Yeah, man. And Moses Brown last game played 12 minutes, pretty close to 2 fantasy points per minute when he was on the floor. Got to the foul line a lot, so some of that is going to be variance. But he looked great when he's in there, man. And if we get word that Turner's out and he's starting, I think he becomes very popular, even on FanDuel, where we already have some chalky value at center. Let me ask you one more question about the Pacers. So with I don't know, Shepard, a bunch of these other guys out, are you getting to any TJ McConnell here today?
Yeah, so I wasn't getting to a ton, but I think he's definitely in play here. Sub 5K on both sides. Just a guide that's probably going to get you there more times than not. So definitely fine with McConnell, at sub 10%. So yeah, totally fine with that in tournaments.
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, we got some shout outs in chat here. The Black Harry Partner here for the greatness. Good afternoon from Sacramento. Nice, man. Yeah, I'm on the East Coast. It is very dark here right now. Days getting shorter and shorter as we head into the holidays. So it seems that we cannot get away from Diabate. Am I right? I don't know that that's necessarily true. Again, this is a pretty big slate. Got a lot of value at center. I think Robert Williams is even more of a priority in terms of cash games over Diabate. So yeah, I think he's a good play, but there's definitely ways to pivot. And not to be rude, Jayhawk, I'm just going to keep ripping through these. Feel free
No,
to
you're
chime
good.
in if there's anything that stands out. Harris starting at PG means they're focusing on defense, and France will run point and have 186,000 assists. McCollum is in. Any take on this Harris stuff here? I'm trying to wrap my head around what Power is referring to, but
Uh, I think he just means
Gary Harris.
Gary Harris.
Okay. Yeah, because Tobias Harris is kind of a key play today for Detroit. We'll get to that game in just a minute. But yeah, Gary Harris, not the highest usage player. Definitely not a ball handler in terms of kind of running Q on offense. So not a bad call. I mean, Franz has been awesome. The price just keeps climbing, though. So makes it tough. Unicorn Love, shouts out. Good evening, money time. Hey Prince, how's it going? Only through the first couple games here, so we'll keep going. Shouts out to Heath here as well. Definitely appreciate all you guys tuning in on a Monday night. I know Brian's already got the video out for the NFL as well. Pretty good game there. So lots of content today over on Occupy. But let's keep plugging away, man. Plenty of games to talk about, including Orlando and Charlotte, where Power is referencing Gary Harris likely starting. I'm sure that news has already come out, but no Wendell Carter Jr. Jalen Suggs is out, and that is the big piece of news here. So with Suggs out, I know personally I'm going to get to some Anthony Black. Did he say that the starting lineup's out and it's not Black? Maybe I missed that.
Um,
Because my guess would have been that they'd start Anthony Black for Suggs. But if he's not starting and it is indeed Gary Harris, we probably do see some point forward out of Franz Wagner.
yeah,
I mean, regardless, I think I want to get to more Anthony Black now. Franz is obviously excellent. There's a bunch of good pay ups on the slate, but if you could find the 9,600 for him, I'm fine with it. You can mix in guys like KCP, De Silva. I'm not excited about either. Goga's going to start at center. He's okay here. Not the best matchup anymore, though. Charlotte used to be a spot we'd attack. Now that Diabic's in there, he's been excellent defensively. So maybe not the priority he may have been in the past. I like Franz here, just tough to afford. And is that starting lineup out? Because I'm kind of
yeah,
surprised it's not Anthony Black. And if it is Gary Harris, I do agree that Franz looks a little bit better.
yeah. They're starting Gary Harris, KCP, De Silva, Franz, and then Goga. So yeah, should get Black off the bench. Anthony Black.
Yeah, I think I like Black regardless here. And he's been a guy, even with Suggs in, that I've been kind of mixing in as a value piece. Definitely easier to get to on DK at 4,400. I imagine as we kind of refresh the data throughout this video, his ownership's going to climb. But let me ask you this. Is there anything else from Orlando you're prioritizing? Obviously, with Suggs out, there is some extra usage to go around.
I don't know if I had any guy I'd prioritize, but let's just talk about. I don't know his potential minutes, but Cole Anthony. I don't think he should get that many minutes, but he's 3K flat. Um, maybe like a 1% stab with Suggs here. What do you think about Cole Anthony?
Yeah, I've never been the biggest Cole Anthony guy. I mean, last year we saw a lot of the time he was cutting into the minutes of someone like Suggs. This year it seems like Anthony Black's definitely ahead of him on the depth chart. But yeah, he is a true ball handler. He is a true point guard. They don't necessarily have that outside of Anthony Black tonight, so I don't think it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, it doesn't seem like they're really bullish on him sticking around. They also have Corey Joseph on the roster. I think Anthony's ahead of him on the depth chart. But other than that, I don't know. But yeah, like you said, I think 1 or 2% if you want to mix him in. I'd be a little bit more reassured if we started to see him pop up in the model. We still don't have him for 10 minutes yet. But yeah, not a crazy shot, man. And we do know that he's definitely capable of doing some ball handling here. So I don't know, kind of a wait and see for me. I do like Anthony Black, and if this ownership holds, even on FanDuel, I'll probably get to some. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
all right, let's talk about Charlotte now. So yeah, they did lose Grant Williams yesterday due to an ACL injury. Still no Trey Mann. Nick Richards and Mark Williams are both out as well. Those are the two regular centers. No Miles Bridges, excuse me. So this is a terrible matchup, right, against Orlando, who even without Banchero has been good defensively. Soluin, we were joking about how to pronounce his name before the show. If anyone wants to drop the phonetic spelling in chat, feel free. But him, Diabate, Ball, all look fine. I mean, I do like LaMelo Ball here. Definitely one of the better payups. Not a great matchup, but at the same time, I mean, he's been excellent. Brandon Miller as well. I mean, his prices come up, but at the same time, with Bridges out, really kind of riding shotgun in this offense next to LaMelo Ball. I like Miller. I like Ball. I'm definitely fine mixing in Diabate and Saloon. The minutes for Saloon haven't been there necessarily. I think they have to be, though, now with Grant Williams out. But yeah, it isn't great to see he's only gone over 20, I think, twice this season, or at least over the past few weeks. Um, I don't know. Personally, how you handling Charlotte here? I think the matchup scares me a little bit, but with this rotation so thin right now, probably shouldn't be too afraid.
Yeah, so starting with Lamelo, I think you and the entire Discord knows that I like this guy. 10K, I think he's fine once again, man. Behind Jokic, Lamelo was kind of my favorite spend up here on the slate. Obviously, Franz on the other side's really good as well. But yeah, he's just been shooting so much, man. It's like he's back in high school. The amount he's shooting right now, so I think he looks great at 20%. And then for the rest of Charlotte, you mentioned it, Salon. I think he's fine at his ownership. I will say if he creeps up to like 30-40% ownership, I don't want to probably have that much. So I'll probably try to stay around that sub 20%. And then guys like Cody Martin and how do you pronounce it? Diabate.
Diabate, I think.
Diabate. Yeah, I think they're both fine. I do prefer Diabate to Cody Martin though. So I probably rank them in order. My favorite Lamelo, Saloon, then Diabate, but I think all three guys are firmly in play.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm with you for the most part. I do want to say I think Josh Green is actually more likely to start than Cody Martin. We don't know that for sure yet, but I think either way, Green's another guy you can kind of mix into that value pool. And yeah, I mean, as bad of a matchup as this is, the spread's close enough. Like, I don't think we need to worry about a blowout here. Just keep in mind this game does have just a 214 point total, which is like 30 points lower than some of the others on this slate. So, good spot to go for sure. But I don't know. You're not crazy to try to get elsewhere. I mean, there are enough games on this slate to consider. But yeah, I'm glad we already have that news, so we can just go right along into the next one here. We've already talked about Orlando. Now we can talk about Toronto at Detroit. I don't know that we need to spend too much time on this game. No new news for Toronto. They do have Scotty Barnes back. I think if anything, this kind of just takes me off of them, right? Because a lot of these guys are priced to have Barnes and quickly out, but Barnes and quickly back. I don't know. It's tough to pay 8,600 for Barrett or 8K for Podol, right? I mean, is there anything from Toronto you like tonight? I am a little bit surprised by the Scotty Barnes ownership over on FanDuel, where he's almost 30%.
Yeah, I was just about to throw that out there as well. I don't really understand that the ownership. You're obviously more the FanDuel guy. I
Yeah.
play more DraftKings. It just seems high, even though we're there. And yeah, you mentioned it, Pirtle and Barrett. It's just tough to play these guys at their price points with Scotty back here. They're kind of priced where they should have been a couple weeks ago. So I don't know, man. It's difficult. Scotty would probably be the play I'd consider the most, but you mentioned it. It's very tough to get these guys.
Yeah, and I did misspeak. I think I said Quickly's back. Quickly is not back. So let me take that back first and foremost. But yeah, I'll say Barnes. I mean, he did play 34 minutes last game. Seems like he's 100% healthy. At his price, he is a pretty good play. It's just at the ownership. I think the Detroit defense is a little bit underrated right now. People see this as this tremendous matchup. It's about league average, if not a little bit worse, actually. So I'm fine getting to some Barnes, especially now knowing that Quickly's out. Should have to do a little bit of extra ball handling. But again, I still think Podol, Barrett are kind of overpriced. Davion Mitchell, not the craziest play, but I don't know. He hasn't been producing all that well, even with Quickly out. I don't know that we need to get there. I'm going to rip through some of these, man. We got so
You're
much
good.
to talk about. On the other side, we have Detroit. Still no Cade Cunningham for them. Obviously, massive news. Everything else is just kind of G Leaguers. But what this is doing is boosting the upside of Jaden Ivey, Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley. Those three all look excellent. Tim Hardaway Jr., another guy, pretty scoring dependent, but cheap enough to consider. Don't mind the spot for Jalen Duren. There's just other centers on the slate. I do want to bring up Isaiah Stewart, kind of a boomer bust type play. If we actually think back to Toronto in years past, like a Chris Boucher type, I think he's kind of playing that role right now, right? Where we know he's going to come off the bench and play limited minutes, but he's been so productive in terms of fantasy point per minute. You can kind of mix him into tournament lineups. At 2% and 5%, I'm fine getting to some. Again, back-to-back games over 30 FanDuel points, which you love to see. So fine mixing him in. But yeah, I think Ivy's kind of the key here. Definitely popular. As is Tobias Harris. I actually like Ivy's upside a little bit more, but you could mix in Malik Beasley at a thin small forward position. Tim Hardaway Jr. I always have trouble getting to, but he is going to start tonight on the wing. I'd probably just leave him out of my exposures personally, especially if I'm playing other pieces of Detroit. But yeah, first and foremost, I want to say I'd probably bet the over here. 221 or 222 seems low. But where are you at on these Pistons right now? I think the chalk makes sense. Probably won't play much Hardaway, and I do want to mix in Stewart as a way to get a little bit different.
Yeah, so you covered it great here. The three top plays. I think Ivy's probably my favorite here. Just kind of been the guy there without Cade, so I think he looks awesome. Probably my favorite play. And then between Harris and Beasley, Harris just hasn't shown me his ceiling yet. I know he has it in him. He just really hasn't shown me hit a consistent floor and ceiling. So I do prefer Beasley to Harris if I'm playing either one of those guys, but I think they're both fine here to play at their ownership. So Ivy, Beasley, Harris, like them all.
Nice, man. Yeah, I agree. I think Harris being 1K more than Beasley, like there's less room for error for him. So while he probably sees a few more minutes, he can kill you. And two of Harris's last three games have been absolutely terrible in terms of shooting. So if we're looking for chalk to fade, I do agree. I think Harris, the more I look into it, the more I'm comfortable getting away from that, especially over on FanDuel where he's 6,700. But let's move right along into the next game. And again, I will get to chat, guys. So feel free to keep dropping those questions, comments in. But we got a lot to cover, so let's just keep plugging along. So Dallas here, still no Luka. Obviously, Kyrie is listed as questionable. Kind of tale of two sides in that he's very popular over on FanDuel at 9K, I think, as he should be. 9,700 on DK though, sub 10% owns. But yeah, I think he goes here, that being Kyrie. But we also have to talk about the fact that Clay is questionable. Quentin Grimes is doubtful, who's been starting. So they're pretty thin right now. Najee Marshall going to be very popular on both sites. I mean, dating back to his time with the Pelicans, a guy we can see pretty productive at times. Kind of priced where he should be, though. But a great matchup, right, against Atlanta. PJ Washington as well, someone I know we've liked in the past, coming off a couple excellent games in terms of shooting. Totally fine getting to him. And then Dinwiddie actually kind of cracking the high ownership threshold here. Played 27 minutes last game, over a fantasy point per minute for him, which is not something he's ever really sustained throughout his career. I like Marshall here. I like that he fills a thin forward position. I'm fine getting to PJ Washington. I do think he's been shooting a little bit above his head, but at the same time, in a matchup like this, we got to like a lot of Dallas, right? So let me ask you this. I think Kyrie plays personally. If you have an opposing take, feel free to throw it out there. But how are you handling Dallas, I guess, if Kyrie is in?
Yeah, just real quick. We did just literally just get the news like a minute ago. Kyrie is in, Clay Thompson is out, and Grimes
Okay.
is out here. So yeah, so I think we'll start out with Kyrie. I think he's in play here. I do prefer him on FanDuel once again. I preferred him last time FanDuel as well. He's still fine on DraftKings. I do prefer the slight savings we get over on FanDuel. And then you mentioned that PJ and Najee Marshall here. I'm getting a bunch of both these guys. I just think at their prices in this matchup, I think they're really good plays. So PJ and Najee, and then with the news of Clay out, I assume they start Spencer Dinwiddie here. at the 2. They could start Jaden Hardy, but I do expect them to start Dinwiddie. So I think he's a really safe value as well that I like a lot.
Yeah, I think whoever starts there
Yeah,
is going to be really good value.
yeah, right there with him.
And yeah, like I said, I do think it probably is Dinwiddie in agreement with you. I mean, Kyrie, he's a point guard in everyone's brain, but the way he's been his past few years, he plays better off ball, honestly. I know his handles are tremendous. He can take it to the rack. But yeah, I mean, if you can kind of get him opening or get him open as someone like Dinwiddie takes the ball up the court, I think you're getting the best out of Kyrie. But yeah, on the other side, I mean, nothing really to talk about with Atlanta for the sake of timing. I don't really want to dig into this one. Just any overall thoughts for Atlanta? I think they look pretty good here, but this is honestly as healthy as they've been all season.
Yeah, one thing just to note on Atlanta, this is a guy I've been playing time and time again. I think Jalen Johnson's under owned once again. His price has just hovered around 8K like every slate, and he's been crushing every slate. So I'm definitely going to be probably double the field there on Jalen on the Atlanta side. But other than
Nice.
that, I guess Trey's underpriced as well. I just think Jalen's floor is a little bit safer than Trey's. Just kind of my take there.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, Jalen at least gets the boards, if nothing else, and it is a pretty good matchup against this Dallas front court that's been kind of hit or miss. Just calling out a few other comments in chat, just catching up here. He says, "What's up?" Porzingis confirmed minutes limit. I didn't see that number yet, but I'm not surprised at all. He's limited. Gary Harris confirmed starting. Henry brings up Cole Anthony, who you mentioned is very interesting. Again, that's a risky play, but someone we could see get minutes here with a bunch of the guards out for Orlando. Does Kate Cunningham being out make Harris a good play? I mean, it should, but the thing about Harris, he is scoring dependent. So if his shot's not falling, not good. He's going to have more shots, but again, they need to go in. How many minutes do you think CJ McCollum will play? I think we had him for right around 30, right? Let me double check.
That sounds about
Yeah,
right.
yeah, 30 on the dot, and I'll just default to the model 9 times out of 10. We did get that Dallas news. Shouts out to Ricardo and then Spaniard. Here again, clearly glutton for punishment, man. I mean, just keep plugging away, man. Process over results. I think you'll start to hit soon. I mean, we every day we're having screenshots in the Discord of winners, so if you're on the same page as us, I think over time you'll start to see those results kind of even out. But let's get into the next game here. We talked about Dallas and Atlanta. We have the Clippers at Boston, and Power just brought up that Porzingis is back with a minutes limit tonight. We currently have him at 21, which I think is fair. And I will say this: like, I'm not playing Porzingis tonight, but there was, I think, a time last season he broke the slate in limited minutes. I think he only played 22 or 23. But yeah, there was this pattern we identified with Boston last year where first half Porzingis would go off, second half it was Tatum. I don't know if that's going to be a thing again this year, just something to keep an eye on. Tatum drawing a little bit of love, Jaylen Brown as well. Boston also without Al Horford and Luke Kornet tonight. So Namus Keita should probably get the start at center unless they bring him off the bench for Porzingis. I'm not all that interested in either. I'm fine getting to some Tatum and Brown. Derek White looks okay. His price has come up a little bit. True Holiday still feels cheap, but he's definitely not kind of the focal point of this offense in any stretch. So yeah, I don't know. Boston looks okay here, right? But is there anything that's really standing out to you?
Yeah, Boston overall this Boston side seems kind of difficult for me to get to. You mentioned I think Tatum and Brown obviously have their respective ceilings here. Um, I think they're probably properly on those sub 10%. And then yeah, I would potentially want to get to Keita, but with Kristaps back, it's very difficult to get to either. So probably just the stud you mentioned, Tatum and Brown here, most likely for
Yeah.
me.
I'm with you, man. And the thing about Boston too is even if they have one guy out, there's like 3, 4 others that could go off. So it's tough to really gauge who the ceiling plays are going to be. And then talking about the Clippers quickly, I mean, still no Norm Powell. Earlier in the day, Kevin Porter was like one of the most popular value plays on the slate. I think as some of this other stuff has kind of opened up, we've seen that go down a bit. Harden's fine here. Zubac looks okay. Definitely a benefit for him that Horford's out. Derek Jones getting some love on DK as a punt. But Clippers are just whatever to me. Like, there's really nothing here I'm rushing to. I do think Porter's fine as a value at point guard, but again, just a bad matchup against Boston. And even with Powell out, they are healthier than a lot of other teams on the slate.
Yeah, so for the Clippers here, you mentioned that Porter was chalky. His ownership should have came down, and it did come down with this other value. James Harden is probably my favorite overall here, 9,100. I just feel like even in a tough matchup here, he's probably the best guy to target here. I don't love Zubac against this Boston front court. I think this is probably a letdown spot for Zubac, and then yeah. So Harden, I'm fine with. I do prefer Lamelo if you can get up to him in tournaments, but I think Harden's still firmly a player.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're playing 150 tonight, you could mix harder into those guard exposures. If you're playing one lineup, I do agree. LaMelo is probably the way to go. And we'll talk about someone in this next game here who is returning tonight, and that is John Morant for Memphis. So transitioning right into the next game here, we get the Grizzlies hosting the Blazers. Want to start on the Memphis side because John Morant, listed as questionable, is expected to return. If he is in the lineup, the FanDuel price at 7,900 seems a little bit off. Not as bad as Nick Claxton and his 3,500 price tag the other night, but someone probably asleep at the wheel here, even if he's only going to play 28 to 30 minutes. Bane with Morant out, if Morant were to be out, would be excellent everywhere. Jaren Jackson looks fine. No ownership at all on him, but I would prefer Morant to be out to get to him. The issue, too, is that they are getting Marcus Smart back tonight. He's going to cut into some of the rotation, especially in the backcourt. So someone like Scottie Pippen's not going to be all that appealing. For me, I like Morant on FanDuel. On DK at 9K, I mean, with the limited minutes, it's tough to want to get him over the likes of Trey, LaMelo, Harden, etc. Bane looks fine, I think, regardless of whether Morant is in or out. But is there anything on Memphis you're really focusing in on here?
Yeah, so Memphis, I think the douche mentioned in Discord here, Jaw, I think is definitely firmly in play, particularly on FanDuel here. 7,900, probably the top play overall, even in 27 minutes on FanDuel. Probably can't get him on DraftKings here at 9K. And then after him the rest of these guys, I find it really difficult to say any of these guys are guys I want to get to above in tournaments. So I think they're all fine, but probably just Jaw and FanDuel for me. It's kind of my lean.
Yeah, I tend to agree, man. Like I said, I'm fine with Bane just because he kind of fills a thin position. You got Guardian forward
Yeah.
eligibility for him over on DK at a reasonable price, pretty low ownership. I think he's a decent play. But obviously, with Job back, that's going to cut into everybody. They're getting Smart and a few other guys back as well. Let's move over to the Portland side of things. So Robert Williams, one of the chalkiest plays on the entire slate. And yeah, he has power forward eligibility on both sides, so it's very easy to build around him. You can pair him with another value center, or we'll talk about Jokic in a little bit as another potential pay up. But Robert Williams looks excellent here. That is because there's no DeAndre Ayton, no Donovan Clingan. We also have Jeremy Grant and Scoot Henderson, both questionable, as is Chris Murray. Still no Matisse Thybulle. So thin rotation here. Anthony Simons finally off the injury report. He's been questionable every day. Good to see he's in. Kind of scoring dependent as a guard. Don't mind getting to him. I will say if Grant is out, I feel better about getting to someone maybe like Shady on Sharp. But right now, more than anything, it's Robert Williams, right? And again, with the forward eligibility, he's very easy to fit on both sides.
Yeah, so completely agree here. Robert Williams gonna have a ton here. It's just they need his size out there, man. Just in general, and they don't have that many bigs, and they don't want to run Duopre as least as possible as they can. So yeah, love Williams here. And then one other guy to add in, if Grant misses, I already kind of like Denny Advia in tournaments. I think he would be a really really sharp tournament play if Grant would sit. So I think Audie is in play at 8%, and I think he'd be really, really good if Grant's out as well. So I just wanted to throw him out there as well.
No, I like the call, man. And the last show I covered, he was super chalky in a similar situation. I was like, I don't get this ownership. He hasn't been playing 30 minutes. He got over 30 minutes last game, which is great to
Yeah.
see. 40 plus fantasy points at 5,300. It's going to be tough to do better than that. So again, I think we prefer to have Scoot and or Jeremy Grant out to be getting to Denny. But coming into the season, I mean, a lot of people are touting him as one of the best players on this team. Really haven't seen it lately, but maybe he's turned that corner. So I like that as a call. And then I will just mention Tumani Kamara probably gets the start here. If you're looking at like the last piece in, I don't think it's crazy. Again, this is only if Grant and or Scooter out. But yeah, Robert Williams, kind of the core play from Portland for you here tonight. But I'll get to chat in a minute, guys. I know we got some comments coming in, but let's go right into the next game here. We get the Knicks at the Denver Nuggets. Knicks are going to be Cat's questionable. This is news to me. I didn't see this until just now. I think he probably plays here, but yeah, that's obviously massive if he were to be ruled out. Precious Achua is still out. Miles McBride is questionable. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of caught off guard. I did not know that Cat was going to be questionable today. I'm guessing he goes here, but again, I don't have a great read on this situation. If he's out, you probably see Jericho Sims get the start. Personally, Sims is never a guy I'm getting to, especially in a matchup like this against Jokic. But yeah, we'd probably see a little bit of a bump in rebounding to guys like Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, bump in usage too to guys like Jalen Brunson, maybe even Mikal Bridges, because Cat's kind of been the alpha in this offense, even next to Brunson this season. We've seen Brunson take a major hit in terms of what he's doing with the usage he's seeing. So, yeah, I don't know if you ever read on this, man, but coming in, I thought I had a pretty good grasp of the slate. The Cat news is kind of throwing me off guard, though.
Yeah, man. That's a huge piece of news. And, if he for some reason were to say that, not only would bump these New York guys, but it would just make Jokic look even better. So it's not like he wasn't already a good play. But yeah, so for New York here, if Cat plays, I think he's fine to mix in. He shouldn't. I wouldn't worry about too much potential foul trouble. Maybe picks up maybe quick too early fouls, but I think he's, can probably not get in foul trouble too much. So I think he's fine at 12%. And then the rest of these New York guys, Bridges, Hart, Brunson, McBride, and Nobi, kind of all depend on if Cat play for me. If Cat plays, then I'm probably just off these guys. But if Cat sat, then I think all these guys would be fine taking stabs at in tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can mix him in, and it's kind of caught me off guard too. This game is such a high total at 233 points. Like, I look at these two teams, I actually think a pretty good defense all around between them, and 233 points seems pretty high. So I don't know. You're fine to mix in guys like Hart, Bridges, OG, Brunson, but obviously all much better if we do get the news that Cat is out. And again, I'm really not trying to get to much Jericho Sims if that is the case, because on the other side we have Jokic here. Aaron Gordon's still out. Other than that, I don't think there's really anything significant. Peyton Watson listed as probable. They do have Jamal Murray back. His price hasn't come down as much as it should yet. Michael Porter Jr. as well. Like, these are pretty decent plays, but not where they're priced. It's really the Jokic show, right? And I think we have enough value on this slate to get to him. Love that Robert Williams has that power forward eligibility as well, so you can pair him with Joker and not think twice about it. So it sounds like you're heavy on Jokic tonight, as I'm hoping to be as well. A little bit easier to get to him on DK, where he's 500 cheaper with the two center spots, but not going to fault anyone for getting the Joker, right?
Yeah, man. I think Jokic just looks fantastic here. It's just he's been incredible, man. We were talking pre-stream. It's just so hard to fade him. On FanDuel it's definitely harder, but on DraftKings we have enough value here where I think we can play a ton of Jokic. So yeah, I'm gonna have a ton of Jokic, and then the rest here, Murray, Strawther, Brown, all fine to mix in. For me, it's just Jokic, but I mean, I guess you can mix these guys in tournaments.
Yeah, again, I just don't like the prices, man,
Yeah.
because Jokic missed time for he was on a little bit of paternity leave, right? But now that he's back, like, I thought they'd adjust these prices quicker. They really haven't come down as much as they should. But yeah, Jokic as a father has been crushing. Absolutely love him as a play. Let's check out chat here before we get in the late game. So we have covered all the games that are on the DK slate now. We're going to talk about these two on FanDuel in just a second. But yeah, guys, keep getting in these questions. Here's a good one. Mr. Torian 513. Don't know if you're related to one Torian Prince, probably not. But yeah, if you're asking about 3,800, I don't know. My first question would be which site, man. So I don't know that we know that, but you could pull the sliders down. Let's see. I'll pull it down on FanDuel first. I don't know. That's 3,900. Dinwiddie on both sides looks really good. Saluin, really good for Charlotte. Those are the two, Dinwiddie and Saluin. I think on both sides you're going to get to. Any other super cheap plays you found yourself getting to? I think those two make the most sense, right?
I'm probably going to get to a good chunk of Jaden Hardy too. Should get all the backup run for Dinwiddie and Kyrie off the bench. I think Hardy's in play as well, or down low. I
Yep.
think 3,700, and then trying to think anyone else potentially.
Josh
Um,
Green, I think maybe.
yeah, he's fine. There might be more that open up depending on the news, but yeah, for now, probably those three.
Yeah, Dinwiddie the safest, assuming he starts. Hardy coming off the bench definitely has upside. Great matchup, and then Saluin as well. I mean, we haven't seen the increase in minutes for him, but we have to expect it here with Grant Williams out. So to answer that one, those are the top value. If we must, is it a must we choose Jokic? No, because who says he doesn't go out have, I don't know, 50 fantasy points at that price, that's going to hurt you. So there's ways to get around it. I just think in terms of payups, he's by far the best. Agbaji or Najee Marshall. I think with all the guys out for the Pels, it's got to be Najee, right? Or would you prefer Agbaji over him?
No, definitely Najee for me. I don't even think I'm gonna get any Ochai Agbaji tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I did miss earlier when we talked about Toronto, and this is on me. Grady Dick is out tonight, so there is a little bit of extra usage to go around. Maybe that's why we're seeing such heavy ownership on Scotty Barnes. But yeah, I think with Barnes coming back, that's a much bigger news to me than losing Grady Dick. But yeah, it's not a crazy play. I do prefer Najee though. Watch for Franz's brother Mo. Orlando has a lot of injuries. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's been good. He's had some huge games coming off the bench. I don't think it's crazy. Taking a quick look at the matchup, though, Charlotte, one of the smaller teams, so they don't necessarily need Mo Wagner's size tonight. But at the same time, I mean, coming off two huge games where he's over 30 fantasy points, so good shout on Mo Wagner. Definitely a value play worth considering. Derek Jones, lots of injuries on the Clippers. Yep, he's going to start again. Wide range of outcomes for him. Howell asking again if it's a must that we have Jokic. You don't have to. He's just our favorite payoff. So if you're playing one lineup, I would, but playing a bunch, I mean, you don't need to have him in everything. Aiton was ruled out. I mean, he was on the injury report is out at 5:30. To me, I just go by the official NBA injury reports. The teams have to submit these in. Yeah, or doubtful. He's listed as doubtful. So right index finger deep contusion. Doubtful almost always means out. Very, very rare that we see that change. Um, I mean, Power personally, I think Dinwiddie's safer. Hardy maybe spikes more of a ceiling, but I know J Kidd personally prefers Spencer Dinwiddie. Obviously, Jason Kidd, Hall of Fame point guard, really has that mentality. And yeah, Hardy, great scorer, but I don't know. He kind of is more of a shooting guard, even though he plays point guard, right? So I don't know. I think I prefer Dinwiddie. What's your take, Jayhawk? I know you're more bullish on Hardy than I am.
Yeah, so it all comes down to who starts here. I think they're both great plays, to be honest. I lean they start Dinwiddie, but if they started Hardy for some reason, I think he probably is better. Either way, I think both these guys get a bunch of run here with Clay out. I mean, there's got to be minutes to be spread around. So
Yep. Totally agree. Moses Brown, what are his chances? Wide range of outcomes. If he starts, great value. Definitely keep an eye on that. Tyler was really trying to get this answer from us. I think we've given it. You
yeah,
don't need to play Jokic. We like him. Mike himself right here says he's too expensive. So, excuse me. If you can find ways around playing him, I don't think you're crazy. Like, there's definitely more than one way to score well tonight. It's just getting away from Jokic. You can play less of this really cheap value, i.e., a Spencer Dinwiddie, but you're going to need those kind of mid to high range plays, 9K range to go off. And then, yeah, I'll use this as an opportunity to kind of translate or to transition. Unicorn asking about Zaire Williams on FanDuel. Yeah, so the Nets have some news here. Scrolling. Brooklyn at Golden State. Nets. Nick Claxton doubtful. Clowney out. Finney Smith out. Schroeder questionable. Dayron Sharp out. Ben Simmons out. Watford probable. Bojan hasn't even played a game yet this year, so we don't really need to talk about that one. But yeah, man, this is FanDuel only, guys. Keep that in mind unless you're playing the night slates over on DK. But with this team so thin, Zaire is one of the best plays on the slate on FanDuel. We've seen him be tremendous in the minutes that he's on the floor. I've been bullish on him all season. I know we're big fans of Jalen Wilson over here. We got Jayhawk on right now. Definitely a big Jalen Wilson guy. I like Wilson. The thing is, Zaire plays really good defense as well. So Fernandez tends to give him the extended run. At the same time, these are both really good plays tonight. They're missing so many wings. So many forwards. There's just a ton to go around. And again, this is a back to back. I think Schroeder missed yesterday. He could be back in here tonight. If he's in, he's a good play. At the same time, if he's out, you could go right back to Cam Thomas. Super scoring dependent. High ceiling, kind of a low floor for his price, but really, really going to like Zaire. Trenton Wofford, if he were to suddenly start, another great value play. I think we're getting a lot of good value from Brooklyn, man. And Cam Johnson as well. He's been shooting as well as almost anyone in the league. He's priced up. No one is playing him. I think tonight, if the Nets are going to keep this game close, both Cams are going to have to do a lot. So Cam Johnson, low ownership, looks good. Zaire, good chalk to me. I'd say Wilson's probably the logical pivot off of that, unless we were to see Watford starting. Um, but yeah, man, this is a lot of value in this late game here. Do you have any hot takes on the Nets? I think Zaire looks great. And yeah, I'm fine mixing in all these guys. Again, just very, very thin rotation for them tonight on the back to back.
yeah, you nailed it here. I think Zaire Williams probably looks the best, but yeah, it's kind of what I did last night too. I kind of just mixed in these guys. Cam Thomas, good tournament play. Is Clowney out as well? Sorry if you.
Clowney's out. Yep.
Yeah, so Trendon Watford looks good. Maybe Jalen Wilson. I don't. I do love Jalen Wilson. I don't know if tonight's the night, but yeah, Watford and Zaire probably would be the guys I'd look to the most here.
Yeah, and I'm actually seeing a couple sites listing Watford as the starting center. I mean, they don't have any other centers, so I think we could see that here. And if that's the case, he's going to look a lot better. So definitely keep Watford in mind if you are playing late as someone maybe to get some exposure to. The issue is that, again, he's not on the DK main slate, and he only has center eligibility on FanDuel. So you're either giving up that center spot for someone with kind of a limited ceiling. But again, they're so thin at center. I think regardless of how this game plays out, he's somebody you're probably going to want to get into lineups. Again, Zaire, good chalk. Off the bench, though, yeah, they got Kui up tonight. Dariq Whitehead's back with the team. Therese Martin, Keon Johnson. None of these guys I'm listening, I'm excited to play. I think they keep a pretty tight rotation, even if this game were to get out of hand. So maybe Shake Milton is like a last piece in. Probably too weird, too cute with it. Just play Zaire, play Watford, play Cam Thomas, and if Schroeder's in, he looks good as well. And Cam Johnson too. On the other side of things for Golden State, they have to know coming in here that they're playing against kind of a skeleton crew, but they have no one on the injury report. Kaminga's listed as questionable. Melton's out. Other than that, they're pretty healthy. Curry looks fine. Again, there's guards we prefer. Jackson Davis should do really well here, especially if he's facing off against Watford. His minutes have been inconsistent. Fine getting to Dre. Some blowout risk here. Anything on Golden State you're bullish on?
Yeah, so Golden State here, they're all fine. Andrew Wiggins has been super, super good for them. So I think he's fine to mix into the player pool on FanDuel. And then, yeah, I think him and Steph, Wiggins and Steph are probably my two favorites. The model does, I believe, like Trace Jackson Davis a lot or decent for value. So he's fine. I think we have better plays for value, though.
Yep. And guys, I got to go quick now. Jayhawk is on double duty today. He's going to be in Discord. I just realized that it's 6:27. So
It's
we're going
all
to talk about this last game in one breath, essentially. And then we're just going to do a really quick build and get off. But if you have any last second questions, I'll get to the very kind of pressing ones. But yeah, OKC, still no Chet Holmgren. Caruso's out. Nothing else too crazy to talk about. I will just say Jalen Williams looks good. 25% owned seems about right to me. They did get Hartenstein back. I think he's actually the cover boy today. Again, you're just giving up that center spot for someone who's kind of priced where they should be. I don't know that we necessarily need to. Feel free to mix SGA into your guard exposures, but at the same time, he's more expensive than any guard on the slate. So it's tough to recommend him over the likes of LaMelo Ball. On the Sacramento side, Malik Monk, I believe, is questionable. They did just get Sabonis and DeRozan back. So these guys are all kind of priced where they should be, if not overpriced. I don't think there's anything for the Kings you really need to worry about or prioritize. But for the sake of timing, man, let's get right into the build here. What are we starting with tonight? I know you like LaMelo. I love Robert Williams. I think he's a must. I think we want to see what we can do with Jokic. I know I'm just ripping through this, but I definitely respect your time. I want to make sure we get as much of this knockout as we can. Any other obvious spots I'm missing?
Let's go at least one of Najee or PJ here. I think they're both great plays.
Yeah, I like the little bit of value we get with Najee. Go ahead and plug him in. Let me just check the ownership on DK real quick, see what we're missing. Najee. Oh, yeah, we got Dinwiddie, Ivy. I like those two plays if we can fit them in. Ivy's shooting guard. Dinwiddie, assuming he starts. Okay. Yeah, so we got 4,100 each. We're going to get really cheap with it. I mean, our boy who we can't pronounce, Salulin, right? Maybe him for 3,300. Yeah, and then we're left with 49. I mean, we built this in what 30 seconds. It's a pretty damn good lineup, I'd say.
Yeah.
Obviously, maybe pivot off some of the chalk. There we go. We got Diabetes. So we got the two value centers with Jokic. Really
Yeah.
good lineup here. This is super chalky. But hey, I mean, that's a damn good build.
Good build.
Any last minute thought, any last second thoughts as I pull up chat here? We did get word that a lot of guys asking about Zaire Williams. He's great. Top FanDuel cash plays. I mean, it's pretty much the same as DK, man. Robert Williams, Zaire Williams. We're playing the Williamses tonight. Jaden Ivey looks good. And I do like Scotty Barnes the more I think about it on FanDuel with Grady Dick and quickly out at 8,100. But any last thoughts, man? I'll let you go catch your breath before you jump into Discord.
Yeah, man. Fun slate. Get ready to determine if you win or lose based off how Dallas performs tonight.
Yeah, right. I mean, when there's this much good value, it is tough to get different. Lineups do come down to like a 2 versus 2, so just keep that in
Yeah,
mind. Maybe not playing Jokic is the way you get different. I think I want him in most of my lineups tonight, but definitely a way to maybe make your construction different overall. But once again, guys, really appreciate it. Um, Definitely like the video, subscribe to the channel, check the links in the description below, get access to the model you see here, and get access to Jayhawk, who will be in Discord in just a few minutes. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.
good luck, guys.